Punjabi music is one of the most popular forms of Indian music right now. It's a genuine blast to listen to, honestly, and has become a phenomenon not just in India but overseas as well. And I'm sure you've seen videos recently of some very emotional music fans. But beneath the catchy tunes, is there a darker undertone? There are allegations that certain prominent musicians promote radical or separatist ideology.
I'm proud to be a Khalistani.
In recent years, several younger artists as well have expressed Khalistan curious sentiments. Raising concerns about India's national integrity and communal harmony. See, these musicians not only reflect the cultural contours of any society, but they also set these contours. Experts are saying that Punjabi music has now become infamous for glorifying a particular caste and glorifying drugs, violence, and gun culture. Now, I want to make one thing very clear when it comes to the promotion of gun culture and all of that. A lot of people are suggesting that because of this music, it will have a negative impact on youngsters and will promote gun culture, violence, drugs, and disrespecting women. Personally, I think it's a bit of a silly argument and a little bit of a straw man. There are millions of people who listen to this music, not just in Punjab, but even outside of Punjab. And especially the people outside of Punjab listening to this music are not walking around toting guns. They're not asking for an independent Punjab. This argument, I'm afraid, is a bit of the age-old boomer argument that TV, movies, and video games are turning children violent.
Violence on TV is much different than the violence that we were watching when we were watching TV when we were younger. And so there's a lot more of it. And the problem is that kids imitate what's on TV. So not only are they imitating it, but when they watch it a great deal, that becomes their reality.
See, Quentin Tarantino is a legendary Hollywood filmmaker. His movies are notoriously violent and bloody. Millions of people, including myself, really enjoy Quentin Tarantino's movies. It doesn't mean that millions of people around the world are reenacting the climax scene from Django Unchained in their personal lives. So similarly, I think using the argument that this music is somehow responsible for any violence and drug use among kids is a bit of a straw man argument, in my opinion. I think it's important that the people listening to this music also take some personal responsibility in their lives. But what is actually serious is that when these musicians are threatening the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India. And this is important because India is a country that over the last 800 years, and particularly in the last century, has experienced significant loss of culture and land. India has undergone a bloody partition, resulting in the deaths of millions of people and the loss of its ancient sacred land, as well as the complete erasure of its culture from those lands. The Pakistan and Bangladesh as they existed in the 12th century are gone today. So India takes threats to its territorial integrity extremely seriously, as they should. External enemies like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and China routinely threaten India's border areas and India's land. And this is where some of these Punjabi musicians have created a serious problem. Some of them are trying to prick at a real pain point for India and Indians, and it's rightfully pissing India off. There were two recent incidents that really brought this to the forefront: the 2020 farmers' protests and the crackdown against separatist Khalistani Amritpal Singh. A lot of musicians became very vocal during these events. One of them was Diljit Dosanjh, who is extremely popular right now, but in 2020, Diljit had joined the farmers' protests and donated 1 crore rupees to them. There was also a very interesting Twitter war between Kangana Ranaut and Diljit Dosanjh over these protests back then, where they were going back and forth attacking each other on Twitter. But ultimately, Kangana asked Diljit that she wants to stop this fight and she will stop attacking him as long as Diljit will publicly declare that he does not support Khalistan. Interestingly, Diljit did not respond to Kangana and instead released a song called Attawadi to promote his support for the farmers, which had some veiled threats towards the Indian government as well.
और जो भी किसान भाई चाहते हैं पूरा देश आज साथ है, प्लीज हमारा साथ दें और सरकार हमारी मांगे मांगे। वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा,
Plus, this also happened during his recent tour of India.
सभी का खून शामिल है यहाँ की मिट्टी में, किसी के बाप का हिंदुस्तान थोड़ी है।
According to a report, allegedly, in a Facebook Live event, Diljit supported Khalistani Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Ex-Congress leader and Member of Parliament from Ludhiana, Ravneet Singh Bittu, had also accused Diljit Dosanjh and Jazzy B of supporting pro-Khalistani separatist organization Sikhs for Justice. Sikhs for Justice is a banned terrorist organization in India that initiated a campaign called Referendum 2020, which sought to conduct an unofficial global referendum to demand the creation of an independent Khalistan. The chief of the Sikhs for Justice organization, Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, has also issued various threats to India, Indian officials and Hindus. He has threatened bombings of Air India flights.
We are asking the Sikh Panth, do not fly Air India. 19 ਨਵੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਗਲੋਬਲ ਬਲੌਕੇਡ ਤੇ Air India ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੱਲਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ। ਸਿੱਖ ਪੰਥ ਵਾਲਿਓ 19 ਨਵੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ Air India 'ਚ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ।
He has threatened October 7th style attacks on India. He has also made threats against the Indian Parliament and Parliament officials. In December 2022, he apparently threatened an attack on the Parliament around the anniversary of the 2001 terror attack. He's made public threats against the Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann and the state's Director General of Police Gaurav Yadav. Now, if these allegations are true, this is not a good look for Diljit. However, in a little bit, I'm going to tell you something about Diljit that might surprise you when you hear it coming from my mouth. So stick around for that. But before that, I want to talk to you about some other prominent radical musicians. One of them is Kaur B. She posted everything from support to Khalistan, showing a distorted map of India and a picture of Bhindranwala, and voicing her support for Khalistan state. Kanwar Grewal has glorified Bhindranwala through many of his songs, calling him a saint. Lucky Singh Durgapuria has also apparently shared posts glorifying Khalistan and Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. Big Bird, who is a music producer who has produced songs by Sidhu Moosewala, Jazzy B and Prem Dhillon, also recently wrote on his Instagram and Twitter bio, "I am a Punjabi, not an Indian." What the... That's like saying, I'm just a testicle, not a human being. It's a part of the whole body. It does not exist separately. It makes no sense what you're saying, man. I hate to break it to you, brother, but you're either Indian or Pakistani. There is no third Punjab. Jazz Dhammi, whose wife is a journalist who has written long posts in support of Amritpal Singh and alleged support for the Khalistani movement. Gippy Grewal can be seen here with Avtar Singh Khanda, who is a Khalistani terrorist. Hardcore posted Khalistani version of India's map on her social media handles and openly posted videos with Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. She has also thanked Pakistan for supporting the Khalistan movement.
ਬਾਲੀਵੁੱਡ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੁਣ ਲੈਣ ਡਾਲਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਾਪਸ ਲੈਣ ਦੇਣੇ ਰੁਪਈਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟੁੱਟਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਣ ਦੇਣਾ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਹ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਿਓ ਤਰਨ ਕੌਰ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਵੀ ਬੰਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬੰਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀ ਇਹ ਐਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਮੁੱਕਦੀ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ
ਔਰ ਉੱਚ ਹੋਊਗਾ
ਅਮਿਤ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਤੂੰ ਆ ਜਾ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਾਲੇ ਨਰਿੰਦਰ ਮੋਦੀ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ 15 ਅਗਸਤ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦਾ ਝੰਡਾ ਚੜਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਿਓ
You and me, Amit Shah, Modi, anyone, come alone. If you got balls, come alone with me in the ring. Amit Shah, come in the ring. Let's fight, bro.
Jazzy B is an open Khalistan supporter. 3 years ago, he released a song called Pat Sardar Dena, which openly supports the Khalistan movement. And even speeches promoting separatism are played throughout the video. Meanwhile, Punjabi singer Shubh has also faced backlash due to his social media post earlier when he posted Pray for Punjab and showed a distorted map of India, which some believed was showing solidarity with the Khalistani movement, where he removed Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and the northeastern states from India. Following this, Book My Show cancelled Shubh's India tour. A lot of these musicians were also involved in supporting the farmers' protests.
Mohammad Ghazali reports on how Punjabi singers have backed the farmers in these protests.
Continue to say.
ਸਿਰਫ ਸੁਣਨੀ ਆਏ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਸਿਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਬਾਈ
ਕੋਈ ਠੰਡੇ ਸਿੱਖੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਕਰੂਗਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਢਿੱਲੀਏ ਇਕੱਠ
There was no way I couldn't be here, because I watched all the videos. Obviously, this protest has been going over a few months back in Punjab. Then he's obviously came to here to Delhi, and I used to watch the videos when I was in Canada, and it used to make me cry.
Kanwar Grewal's Elan doesn't just demand attention, it warns Delhi that it will show Delhi its auqat and promises a showdown at the capital. Ranjit Bawa released a song called Punjab Bolda, which apparently was in support of the farmers' protest, but spends a lot of time railing against Ayurvedic medicine. What does that have to do with anything? It's like the Syrian rebels protesting against the Assad regime, and in the middle of protesting suddenly screaming, "Fuck Disneyland." What the hell does Disneyland have to do with that? His recent releases openly glorify Bhindranwale. One of his song lyrics also says, "You used to call us Urta Punjab, but now we have come to Delhi and we are drying our underwear here." Which is a strange choice of words, man. Imagine that after the Second World War finished and the Allies entered Berlin, Dwight Eisenhower, the general of the American army, got up on stage and said, "We have won the war. Hitler is dead. And now I can finally do diarrhea in peace." Why did you have to say that last part? It makes your speech a lot less cool. And so similarly, the bit about the underwear really undermines the victorious theme of your song. Tarseem Jassar has a Bhindranwale themed song from 2017. Babbu Maan released one in 2015. Then there was obviously Sidhu Moosewala, who was extremely popular, who wrote a song called Motherland, which kicks off with an excerpt from a 1982 speech by Bharpur Singh Balbir, who was a Khalistani firebrand, in the presence of Bhindranwale. The song says, "Why not talk of self-rule? We don't wish to just hold prayer beads and become priests in some mutt in Hindustan." The same song goes on to show visuals of Bhindranwale walking with his followers. Another song of his had lyrics saying, "You have given orders against me from the beginning. Oh Delhi, don't forget that I am a border state," which sounds a lot like separatist dog whistling. And at this juncture, when we're talking about all these Khalistani threats and these musicians making threats to the government, I just want to take a second and say something. I must say that this is a lot of chest thumping for a group of people that lost. I mean, if you had won, Khalistan would have been formed. Punjab would be a separate state, but you lost. And the Indian army didn't even need to be fully engaged. The Khalistani movement was completely and utterly annihilated in India by the Punjab police. You were completely and utterly routed by the real lion of Punjab, KPS Gill. After getting routed, whoever was left ran off to Canada with their tails between their legs. And now all they can do is make songs. You don't even have the stones to go to India and fight against the Indian army, and you're dreaming about creating a Khalistan, brother.
This is number one bullshit.
This is like Pakistan boasting about how strong their cricket team is while losing series after series to countries like Bangladesh and Zimbabwe. Try at least getting past the Sikh regiment of the Indian army first, man. Worry about the other regiments later. Let's also point out one very important thing about the Khalistan movement while we're talking about it. The Khalistan movement, let's be honest, is not a religious or cultural movement. It is a caste movement. This is something that really needs to be highlighted and understood by as many people as possible. The Khalistan movement is dominated by people from one single caste, the Jat Sikhs. Hindus are often attacked for their caste discrimination, and in cases where it happens, justifiably so. But let's talk about a dark secret in Sikh society that is ignored by anti-caste warriors, just like basic financial literacy is ignored by the government of Pakistan. Jat Sikhs own more than 80% and possibly as much as 95% of available agricultural land in Punjab. The scheduled castes own only 3.6% of land, despite making up 32% of the state's population. Some estimates suggest that Dalits own as little as 0.7% of all cultivated land in Punjab. The Punjab Land Alienation Act of 1901 historically prevented lower castes from owning agricultural land, and these scheduled castes are largely landless and often work as daily wage laborers on the lands of the Jat Sikhs. Despite there being laws reserving 33% of village common land for the scheduled castes, these Jat Sikh farmers often use proxy candidates to maintain control of the agricultural land in Punjab. And that's not even the end of it. According to certain reports, in many villages in Punjab, scheduled castes may enter gurdwaras meant for Jat Sikhs but cannot join the langar with the Jat Sikh worshippers. In fact, this caste-based discrimination in Sikh society has, according to reports, even spread to countries like Canada with large Sikh populations. In some places, things are so dire that these scheduled caste Sikhs are abandoning Sikhism and becoming Christians at an alarming rate. Some sources, although dubious, claim that Christians make up around 10 to 15% of Punjab's population. There are an estimated 65,000 active active missionaries in Punjab who are primarily targeting these marginalized communities, particularly scheduled caste and Mazhabi Sikhs. The same people that are being discriminated against by the so-called caretakers of Sikhism, the Jat Sikhs. Because of your behavior, your religion is hemorrhaging people. You really think that people that make up 32% of the population of your state, along with the Hindus that make up around 45% of the population of your state, want to live in a Khalistan run by you guys? The reality is that the people that want Khalistan in India are a very small minority. It is nothing more than a desperate pipe dream. And I think this is something that needs to be taken seriously, not just by audiences, but by the government as well. Because despite many of these artists supporting Khalistan and secession from India, they're allowed to perform in various venues in India. In fact, Jazzy B, an open Khalistani, performed in India just recently, despite openly calling for an independent Khalistan. And now, what's also interesting here is when we talk about the artists, many of them claim that they only care about the farmers and not about any separatist ideology. So why don't they come out and openly denounce Khalistan and Khalistani ideology? Maybe, A, many of these singers and musicians are from the same caste that is running the Khalistan movement. Maybe they fear alienating their caste brethren. Or B, maybe because they have a very lucrative section of their audience that is pro-Khalistan. When it comes to their earnings with this overseas audience, it's very massive. Diljit recently made history by performing to over 54,000 fans in Vancouver. Remember, Vancouver and the neighboring Surrey is one of the hubs of the radical Khalistani movement. In another concert in the USA, his manager revealed that a concert ticket in the US sold for 54 lakh rupees, approximately $65,000, contributing to a total revenue of 234 crore rupees, around $28 million from that tour. Sidhu Moosewala was also a very big name when it came to these overseas concerts. He reportedly earned between 200,000 to 300,000 US dollars per international concert. People like Babbu Maan also earn a huge amount from these international events. And so you would think that even if they wish to denounce this movement, this overseas audience is just too financially lucrative for them. And they don't want to say or do anything that would upset this international audience. And now, a caveat. This is something that I mentioned that I'm going to say earlier that might be seen as controversial to some of my audience. I actually respect Diljit Dosanjh a great deal. Diljit is a prominent follower of his Hindu traditions, despite undoubtedly the heavy pressure that must fall on his shoulders from the Khalistanis, from the SGPC, the so-called caretakers of the Sikh religion, and the Left Liberal Brigade, who have developed a natural aversion to Hinduism, the way people that produce Arjun Kapoor's movies have developed a natural aversion to money. Diljit's spiritual journey started during COVID, which led him closer to Hindu practices, meditation, and yoga.
And he himself says that he's been through so much of spiritual transformation, so much of yoga, so much of grounding, his Naam Japna, Path, all of that.
Diljit also said himself that yoga and meditation has helped him immensely in his career gaining new heights. Diljit is also an ardent worshipper of Lord Shiva, and he has been to Ujjain to seek the blessings of Mahakal.
A video of Diljit is going viral wherein he can be seen meditating inside the premises of the iconic temple.
And this is very heartening to me as an admirer of the Sikh and as a great believer in the Sikh gurus, because it has always been believed in India that the Hindus and the Sikhs are two fingers of the same hand, the hand being Dharma, and are thus two inseparable communities. Diljit is a shining example of the Hindu-Sikh syncretic culture at a time when there are politically motivated forces that are hell-bent on driving a wedge between the Hindu and the Sikh community. Look, I know Diljit also has this cringe stuff.
Pakistan, ਹਾਂਜੀ ਜ਼ੋਰਦਾਰ ਤਾੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲ 'ਚ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਪਿਆਰ ਹੈ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਸਰਹੱਦਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਰਡਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨਸ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਚਾਹੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਚਾਹੇ ਉੱਧਰ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਆ ਸੋ
But man, that's every single actor or musician. As soon as you choose to become an actor or a musician, it's like you're taken to a facility and implanted with the cringe microchip. But ultimately, despite all this, I believe that Diljit is a good person with good intentions who maybe is afraid to alienate a certain group of people from among his fan base that are rabidly anti-Hindu, rabidly anti-India, and are at the forefront of spreading the idea of Khalistan. Potentially because it is a very financially lucrative part of his fan base. And again, as someone who respects Diljit Dosanjh, I want to urge him that he has an incredible opportunity here. You're someone who has immense goodwill among the Hindu community and the Sikh community. By publicly denouncing so-called Khalistan, you have the opportunity to really start putting this idea in the grave in the minds of the Punjabi youth where you hold a lot of sway. Maybe you will lose the support of some radicals in countries like Canada, Australia, and the UK. But I believe that you will gain another legion of fans in India that will appreciate your brave stance, upholding India's territorial sovereignty, celebrating India's syncretic culture, and putting to bed this non-starter of an idea that is Khalistan. And so it's not just incumbent on these artists and these musicians to stop the Khalistani propaganda. I believe the government also needs to take some strong steps. You need to spread awareness among the youth and students against this Khalistani propaganda. Awareness programs need to be taken forward with a war footing. The government must also heavily invest in developing a pro-India Sikh political leadership, empower and support them to root out Khalistani elements from within the Sikh community. Strict action must also be taken against pro-Khalistani musicians. Many of these musicians have business interests and property in India. A lot of their money is tied into India. Any musicians who espouse pro-Khalistani sentiments must have their business interests and their property confiscated, their OCI cards cancelled, and their confiscated lands should be distributed to scheduled caste Sikhs who are nationalists and harbor no desire for Khalistan and are often horribly mistreated by the Jat Sikhs themselves. Once you start hitting them in the wallet, you will notice how nationalist these people become. They will either become hardcore nationalists or will forget that something like Khalistan exists, just like Modi ji forgets duties exist whenever he meets Georgia Maloney. Unfortunately, even for the BJP, for the sake of electoral gains in Punjab, they do not openly call Bhindranwale a terrorist. This attitude needs to change, and strong nationalist sentiment against Khalistan and Bhindranwale must be cultivated in Punjab. Additionally, questions need to be raised about Jatism or Jat dominance in Punjab. Just as we constantly raise our voices against issues related to Hindu upper castes, it is equally important to raise awareness and speak out against the problems of Jatism and Jat dominance in Punjab. Moreover, the SGPC needs reform. The government has decided that Hindu temples cannot be freed from state control because caste discrimination could arise. Yet, the SGPC openly supports Khalistanis and extremists like Bhindranwale. It is Jat dominated and does not condemn violence committed in the name of blasphemy or sacrilege, but instead makes excuses for it. Are these not valid grounds for government oversight of this organization, especially if it supports separatists and extremist elements and caste discrimination? But ultimately, I want to ask you, what do you think are good solutions towards this pro-Khalistani sentiment and pro-Bhindranwale sentiment against musicians? Do you think it's the musicians who need to fix up? Do you think it's the government that needs to take stronger steps? Do you think it's the fans who need to wake up and start boycotting these people? What do you think is the best solution for this problem? Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. As usual, guys, I'm going to be putting out a Patreon-only video where I'm going to record a video talking about one particular issue. It might be related to the One Nation, One Election. It might be related to the Ambedkar topic. It's going to come out sometime next week. So if you'd like access to it, make sure you become a member on Patreon or a YouTube member. Other than that, I will see you for the next episode. And until then, stay happy, stay healthy. I will see you for the next one. And to all of you, a secular pranam.